Have you ever felt the quiet, profound relief of a key turning in a lock? Not because of what you are locking out, but because of what you are locking yourself in with. A silence that feels like a homecoming, a stillness that is a universe of its own. There is a deep and often misunderstood psychology to the person who feels no urgent pull to leave the house, for whom the four walls of their home are not a cage, but a canvas. The world outside, with its chorus of expectations and its relentless pace, often labels this as something to be fixed, a problem, a deficiency, a fear. But to truly understand it, we must step inside, gently close the door behind us, and listen not to the noise that is being avoided, but to the silence that is being chosen. For many, the home is a sanctuary of control in a world that feels increasingly chaotic. Every day when you step outside, you are entering a space governed by a billion variables you cannot predict or manage. The weather, the traffic, the stray comment from a stranger, the overwhelming sensory input of a crowded street. It is an endless stream of data that your mind is forced to process. This processing costs energy, a cognitive and emotional currency that is not infinite. For a person who is highly sensitive, an empath, or simply an introvert, the world can feel like a constant energetic drain. Staying home is not an act of cowardice. It is an act of profound energy conservation. It is the conscious decision to curate your environment, to set the thermostat of your own existence. Here, you control the volume, the light, the company. You are the sole author of your immediate reality, and in that authorship, there is a deep sense of peace, a feeling of being anchored while the rest of the world is a storm-tossed sea. This desire for a controlled environment is not about weakness, but about wisdom. It is knowing your own limits and honoring them. It is the understanding that your inner resources are precious, and it is your right to decide where and how they are spent. The world may demand your participation, but your soul may demand your preservation. And sometimes, the most profound act of self-care is the simple, quiet refusal to step over the threshold. This sense of safety then blossoms into something more generative, the home as a crucible for the inner world. There is a prevailing myth that a life lived indoors is a life of emptiness, of passive consumption, of waiting for something to happen. But for many, the opposite is true. When the external world is muted, the internal world can finally speak. Your home becomes a library, a studio, a laboratory for the self. The hours that others might spend in transit, in small talk, in navigating public spaces, you spend journeying through books that are galaxies of thought, listening to music that paints feelings for which there are no words, or simply sitting with your own consciousness, untangling the knots of your own experience. This is not emptiness, this is depth. It is choosing the profound resonance of a single, well-understood idea over the fleeting distraction of 1,000 shallow ones. The person who stays home is often a curator of worlds, both real and imagined. Their space is a reflection of their mind, filled with objects, art, and tools that facilitate a rich inner life. They are not disconnected from the world. They are often more deeply connected to the timeless currents of human thought and creativity. They are in conversation with philosophers, artists, and storytellers from across the centuries, all from the quiet comfort of their favorite chair. To see this as a lesser life is to fundamentally misunderstand the nature of human experience, to believe that the only valid journey is the one measured in miles traveled rather than in the expansion of one's own soul. The home is not a void. It is a vessel, and what it holds can be infinitely more vast and more meaningful than the sprawling, anonymous space outside of it. But it's not always about what you're running from in the external world. It's often about the performance you are allowed to stop. When you go outside, you invariably wear a mask. It might be a subtle one, but it is there. You are a professional, a customer, a citizen, a stranger in a crowd. Each role comes with a script, a set of expected behaviors, and a constant low-level hum of self-monitoring. Am I being polite enough? Do I look presentable? Did that comment sound strange? This social performance, for many, is utterly exhausting. It is the work of maintaining an avatar, of presenting a version of yourself that is palatable and acceptable to others. At home, the mask dissolves. You are allowed to simply be. There is no one to impress, no script to follow, no judgment to preemptively manage. The relief that comes with this is almost indescribable. It is the feeling of taking off a heavy costume after a long play. It is in this state of unperformance that your true self can emerge, messy and contradictory, and authentic. This is why, for those with social anxiety, the home feels like the only truly safe harbor. The fear of judgment, of misspeaking, of being fundamentally misunderstood can make the outside world feel like a minefield. Every interaction is fraught with potential failure. The home, by contrast, is a space of unconditional acceptance, because it is a space of solitude. You cannot say the wrong thing to yourself. You cannot be judged by your own silence. Here, you are not a social object to be perceived and evaluated. You are a subject
That is completely unacceptable.
living
You are
your own
mistaken.
experience from the inside out.
I hear your concerns.
This retreat
Let's
is not a
discuss this
failure to be
calmly.
social. It is a retreat from the profound
guys see the
exhaustion
update?
of performative social
loving the new
engagement.
zone.
A choice to commune
We
with
should
the
raid
one
later
person you never have to pretend with, yourself. This brings us to a more tender layer of the experience, one that is often shrouded in silence
Connection
and shame.
without cost.
For some, the home is not just a sanctuary, it is a hospital. It is a place to heal from wounds that the outside world has inflicted. If you have experienced trauma, bullying, profound loss, or betrayal, the world beyond your door can feel not just chaotic, but actively hostile. Your nervous system has learned, through painful experience, that out there is where danger lies. Staying inside is not a conscious choice in the same way as it is for the contented introvert. It is a deeply ingrained, protective response. It is your psyche's attempt to create a secure attachment with a place when it has been unable to form secure attachments with people. The four walls become a parent, a guardian, a promise that here, at least, you will not be hurt again. This avoidance is a survival mechanism, and it is a testament to your sensitivity and your brain's powerful, desperate attempt to keep you safe. To judge this response is to lack compassion for the wound itself. The world broke a promise to you, the implicit promise of safety, and so you have created a new, smaller, more reliable world for yourself. The healing that can happen in this space is real, but it is delicate. It is the slow work of rebuilding a sense of safety from the ground up. It is learning to trust your own environment first, before you can even consider trusting the world again. For some, this period of retreat is temporary, a necessary cocoon from which they will eventually emerge. For others, the wound is so deep that the cocoon becomes a permanent home. And to understand this is to understand that sometimes survival looks like stillness. It looks like a closed door. It is not a life unlived, but a life preserved against overwhelming odds. It is a quiet, powerful act of self-preservation in the face of a world that has proven itself to be unsafe. And yet, in our modern world, the story has a new chapter, a digital one. The very definition of leaving the house has become blurred. You can stay within your physical sanctuary and yet travel the globe through screens. You can have a rich social life, a thriving career, and access to the sum of human knowledge without ever putting on your shoes. The internet acts as a bridge, a portal. For the person who stays home, this is a revolutionary development. It mitigates the isolation while preserving the safety. You can engage with others on your own terms, from behind the protective buffer of a screen. You can choose when to respond, how to present yourself, and when to disconnect. This digital existence offers a form of social interaction that is filtered, curated, and, most importantly, controlled. It allows for connection without the overwhelming sensory and emotional cost of physical presence. You can find your tribe, people who share your niche interests and understand your way of being, without having to navigate the unpredictable social landscape of the physical world. However, this digital bridge is a complex structure. While it offers connection, it can also create an illusion of it, a substitute that lacks the messy, unpredictable, and ultimately enriching reality of embodied interaction. It can become another layer of the fortress, one that is so comfortable that it removes any incentive to ever test the drawbridge again. It solves the problem of loneliness, but can simultaneously deepen the habit of avoidance. The question then becomes not whether you are connected, but about the quality and nature of that connection. Is it a supplement to a rich inner life, or is it a replacement for a world that feels too difficult to face? It is a paradox of our time. You can be more connected to the world than ever before while being more physically removed from it. A hermit with 1,000 friends, a reclusa with a global audience. Ultimately, the psychology of never wanting to leave the house is a story about the search for a place where you can be whole. It is a quest for an environment that matches your internal state, a space where the self is not under constant threat of dissolution. Society has a very narrow definition of what a good life looks like. It is often pictured as outward, expansive, social, and adventurous. But this is a profound and limiting bias. It invalidates the equally valid journey inward. The archetypes of the hermit, the monk, the scholar, the contemplative artist, these figures have always existed, and they have been revered for the wisdom they found in their solitude. They understood that to know the world, you must first know yourself. And to know yourself, you need silence. You need stillness. You need a space that is free from the clamor of external demands. If you are a person who finds your deepest sense of peace within the walls of your own home, you are not broken. You are not failing. You may be a different kind of human, one who is attuned to a quieter frequency. You may be a guardian of a rich inner world. That is your gift to yourself. The crucial question, the one that only you can answer, is one of balance and of choice. Is your home a fortress or a prison? A fortress is a place you choose to be for strength and protection. A prison is a place you feel you cannot leave. A fortress has a door that you can open, even if you choose not to. A prison's door is locked from the outside. The distinction is not in the act of staying, but in the feeling that accompanies it. Is it a peaceful, conscious choice, or is it a compulsion driven by a fear that has grown larger than the life you want to live? There is no universal answer, only your own truth, whispered in the quiet moments when the world is shut out. Your home is a mirror. Look into it. See what it reflects back to you. Is it a face of contentment of a person living a deep and deliberate life on their own terms? Or is it the face of someone who longs to step outside but has forgotten where they put the key? The answer is not about judging your present, but about understanding it with a radical sense of compassion. The value of a life is not measured by the width of its geography, but by the depth of its meaning. And meaning, true meaning, can be found just as readily in the quiet intimacy of a familiar room as it can in the vast, open spaces of the world. Your peace is your own to define and to defend.